What's going on, Johnny Nation? Welcome to episode 159 of the Eye on the Storm podcast. My name is David Barrett. Today, I'm joined by one of the newest members of the Red Storm, a four-star top 75 prospect from Providence, Rhode Island, who spent time at South Kent and thrived at LaSalle, led them to a 29-2 season, winning the Rhode Island Interscholastic League Division I championship. Rhode Island Max Preps Player of the Year, committed to Rick Pitino at St. John's on April 30th after being courted by some pretty big programs. Choosing St. John's was a no-brainer according to him, and he's already in the gym getting ready for the Big East. Always excited when we have a chance to learn about the journey that got a kid from where they started to St. John's. So let's get to it. I'm excited to welcome to St. John's and welcome to the podcast, Kelvin Odih.
Thank you for having me.
Kelvin, I want to tell your basketball story and how we got to this point with you as a Johnny, because you're going to have all of Queens behind you now. You started your basketball career at the Zuccolo Rec Center, a legendary rec center right in the heart of Providence on the historic Federal Hill. What did you do to earn the nickname the Jaguar?
So when I was younger, before I started taking hoops seriously, I was just really fast. And I couldn't make a layup. Like, I was too fast for myself. This is when I was younger, so everybody just kept calling me the Jaguar just because I was too fast for myself. So that's how the name just stuck around.
So it's funny that you talk about your younger days. So I spoke to Coach with the Rhode Island Elite, Nick Light, who said when you were younger, you started as like a point guard, but then early in high school, you had this growth spurt, got stronger, and played some power forward and center. And then Coach joked that said that you were a fat power forward. And when you got, kind of to that stage, you had a point guard, experience. Then you started to learn center and power forward. But he said that those learning days and playing both those positions were huge in your development and why you became what he says is one of the best rebounding guards today. Why do you think those two stages were important in your growth as a basketball player?
They were definitely important. Just, knowing how to play both positions, it made me very versatile. I think that being a center, being a forward, it teaches you a lot how to finish around the rim. And a point guard just gives you very, very, very high level IQ. So I benefited from both of those positions for sure.
Right now, would you consider yourself more of like a two guard?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You've had some pretty impressive moments coming up, especially the last few years. One that stood out to Coach Light was your sophomore year when you played Nike's Team United, when you went up against Sadiq White, who is a top 50 prospect committed to Syracuse. What happened in that matchup, and do you remember why you were left laughing up 3 with 20 seconds left?
Oh, that's funny. No, I mean, just being with Coach Light, he pushes you like every single day. He brings the best out of you, for sure. So, in that game, it was late in that game, and we prepare every day for late game situations. So I was very much prepared, very much in shape. So the other team was gassed. I won't lie to you. So that's why I really got that laugh out of. You know what I mean?
Coach Light talked that game and that performance where you outworked and out-hustled, some of these top high-end ranked kids where they were, like you said, gas. They were, doubled over. They couldn't keep up with you and your energy. That was the game that he believes broke you into the national rankings that started to get a lot of people, to start paying attention to you.
Yes, sir. No doubt.
Kelvin, Pango's All-American Camp is one of the most prestigious in the summer. Elite players from all around the country gather head-to-head every year. You won the MVP of the Top 60 All-Star Game last year, played with some and played against guys like Mel Thomas, Caden Mingo, Josiah Jarvis, and many more. What did that mean to you? What did that mean winning that on that kind of a stage, and what did that message send to everybody around the country?
It was definitely great to, put on a show on that stage. Just being a person from Rhode Island, you don't get a lot of recognition just being the smallest state, So I just felt like it was definitely a good thing that I could go out there and showcase my talent and compete with the best of the best.
Last May in the live period, Puma Pro 16 circuit, you played Team Museum that had UConn commit Eric Ryby, who you're going to be seeing later this year. You dropped, everybody get ready for this stat line, 32 points, 16 boards, 5 steals, 3 blocks, 3 assists, and you missed 2 shots. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. You had an off day. Coach Light said that that was the game that convinced him that you would one day play in the NBA. He said he got a text from a Big East assistant coach that day that said, "You got a pro." Is that one of the best performances of your career? And especially on a stage like that, did you feel you were making a statement?
No doubt. I had definitely heard about the buzz about Eric, him being, one of the top bigs in our class. Obviously, he's a McDonald's All-American. So, I just definitely had a chip on my shoulder just trying to prove everybody wrong. So, I just came out in that game hot. So I won't lie to you. So, that's it.
Here with Kelvin Odih, one of the newest Johnnies, the last member of the recruiting class for year 3 under Rick Pitino. Kelvin, how has your game changed over the last year to the point where you've gotten noticed by so many high D1 schools that helped you climb the recruiting list, went top 100, then 75, and you finished at 65 according to 247. What was it that changed about your game and what has improved over the last year?
Everybody always seen my potential. I'll say that starting young, everybody always seen my potential, but I always obviously have room to grow. I think over the last year or so, my jump shot just became more consistent. My ball handling, stuff like that. Just spending time in the gym daily with, Coach Nick Light. So I think that's really what it was. Just getting better every single time it was time to put on a show in front of the coaches.
All right. So initially you committed to West Virginia.
Yeah.
They made a coaching change, so you decommitted. You were uncommitted for a while. You went through the process. You visited Utah, had other schools interested in you like Texas, Louisville, Maryland. What was that what was that recruitment process like for you a second time? And when St. John's called, what eventually sold you on St. John's being the right place for you?
Yeah. The recruitment period was, it was just like high school. It was just like the first time all over again. I'll say that. Obviously, besides the fact that I was going against the portal, but when St. John's came around, it was kind of much of a no-brainer just because I just know playing under Rick Pitino, he can definitely get me to where I need to be in terms of, getting me to my highest point of potential. And just seeing the roster that they had, I was just like, this is a no-brainer. Like, I would be competing against high-level guys every single day. There's no way I won't get drastically better.
So that was going to be my next question. I mean, you saw the pieces that were coming in that were going to be your teammates. And like you said, going up against in practice and, iron sharpens iron. Ian Jackson, Joson, Sanon, Ozias Sellers. You'll be with Zuby Ejiofor, Lefteris Leotopoulos, Ruben Prey. A lot of guys who are, back. Dylan Darling, another point guard as well, who you'll be going up against. That was an appealing thing to you. It wasn't, you didn't kind of take that as, oh man, I'm going to have to struggle to find that playing time.
No, not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, I just feel like if you don't have confidence in yourself, you're cooked. If you know what I mean? I'm just very confident in myself, confident in my abilities. And obviously I know it's going to be hard. Just those guys are older than me. They have more experience in college, but I'm better myself. And regardless, I know I'm going to get better every single day. So that's really the goal, just to get better, at least 1% better every day.
How was your visit to St. John's and what was your favorite part?
It was great. It was great. It was very welcoming. I'll say that for sure. It was very welcoming. And something that stuck out to me was that Coach Pitino, he led the workouts. That was something that was like, wow, he led the workouts. Not too many coaches do that. They'll have like one of their assistants work out, stuff like that. But he led the workouts. And my favorite part was definitely putting on the jerseys, like the flicks and all that. It was great, for sure.
Did the success of this past season, where St. John's went 31-5, impact your decision? Did you happen to see any games or the style that Coach Pitino was playing and the way that this St. John's team did that ended up getting them to the NCAA tournament and winning a game in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, definitely. When they came down to Providence for March Madness, I went to the game. But besides that, I was watching them earlier in the season. Obviously, they were just creating a lot of buzz, so you definitely got to check that out for yourself. You know what I mean? And I was just like, wow, who knew how life would work that I'll be playing? But it was just like, wow. Before even I knew I was going to go there, I was just like, wow, I could really fit in this system. like I could really like, like this matches my play style. So it's just like it's a coincidence and it's also a blessing that I'm gonna be going there and playing for him.
You brought up the workout
That's
that
it.
Rick Pitino went through, and he's legendary and well known all throughout basketball as the guy that leads those workouts, and he's famous for those. And you get this amazing sense of what you could bring to the table in front of the head coach.
Mhm.
That workout, I mean, obviously he led it, like you said, but
Yeah.
what did you take away from it? What kind of things did he put you through? Did you feel like this was different than all your other visits? Was that a real selling point in the sense of like, okay, I get to show my talents and, it's not just going on a recruiting trip to take pictures, I'm actually
Right.
getting to showcase and sell myself.
Yeah, and all my other visits, I was obviously able to work out, but I didn't really work out in front of the coaches, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Like he put me through a workout, and that's just something that stuck out. He put me through the workout. He evaluated me. Let me say, he evaluated me, and that just shows that like he's serious about what he's doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was something that definitely stuck out for sure.
Coach Light called you one of the best two-way guards in the country. He also
Yeah.
mentioned that this commitment was a full-on understanding of a multiple-year plan and buying into this coaching staff to do right by you. You're a building block for the future of St. John's. Obviously, that starts this year, but it turns you into a core piece next year and beyond. In this NIL era, and Calvin, you're obviously familiar with that, but guys bounce around year after year. But for you to have it in your mind to be committed to the growth and the process over the course of multiple years, I think shows a level of maturity and self-awareness. When talking to Coach Light, your family, the staff, what's the plan that's been laid out for you and your development? And because you've said it yourself that, this is a multiple year commitment.
Um, the plan was really obviously like you just go there, do what you got to do, get better every single day, and go at your teammates. Like literally, go at your teammates and challenge. Like you said, iron sharpens iron. So I'm just going there with the mindset just to get better. Like literally, get better, and the rest will take care of itself.
You've been training with Nick Correa recently.
Yes, sir.
He's also been training your teammate, Joson Sanon, for many years and has gotten a few sessions now in with Bryce Hopkins as well. Right before we were recording this, you guys were all together. What have you guys been working on, you specifically? What have you been working on and focused in the gym getting ready for these upcoming first seasons? And, we got summer workouts in about 10 days here.
Well, first of all, shout out to my guy, Coach Nick, man. He's a great guy, great dude for sure. But we just been focusing on just being as prepared as possible. You know what I mean? Like, we're working on pretty much everything. Like, I've been working with him for a month, and I can see just drastic changes in every single part of my body. So we're just preparing on being prepared, literally. So when I get to campus, it'll be much easier for me.
When you talk about being prepared, I mean, is that strength? Is it agility? Is it jumping? Is it conditioning? Is there one place that you're really focusing on, or is it just every day something different?
Every day is something different for sure. Every day is something different. I feel like you can't just focus on one thing because if you're strengthening something else, it's not matching with they're not everything is not matching together, if you know what I mean. So we're definitely attacking different things every day.
One of the things that Coach Correa told me recently about working with you, and he said that he could see, and I think you mentioned this as well, that you could see yourself jumping faster and higher already through the work with Nick.
No doubt, no doubt, no
Wh-
doubt.
One of the things that a lot of fans have noticed is how strong you look. We've seen your frame and your pictures with Joson and Bryce, and just in clips recently. To see that you're Big East ready, college basketball ready, has the development in your physicality and your body, I mean, has that been something that you have really focused on over the last year, or have you, essentially kind of filled out over the time, or do you feel a lot stronger now, over this last year as you get ready for college?
No, definitely has been something that I wanted to attack. I'm obviously going against grown men. Like I'm going against grown men now, so I gotta get stronger. I gotta get faster. I gotta get bigger. So that was something that I definitely wanted to focus on my off season.
Kelvin, you played some open runs with Joson Sanon that Spencer Merkin put on. You saw some clips of you guys playing above the rim, throwing down some one-handed dunks, alley-oops. Sanon fed you for one of the dunks. What were your first impressions of him on the court, and how's your chemistry been?
Well, me and Joson didn't start like playing. Like this is not the first time I've seen Joson. Like we played against each other in high school and all that, so I was a little familiar with his game and all that. But playing with him at the open runs, I just feel like it was great, and it's just going to be better and healthier for the team.
What kind of player is St. John's getting in Joson?
Let me. He's a dog. He's a pure bucket. I'll say that. He's a dog, a pure bucket. So they're definitely getting a good player for sure.
Coach Pitino has said that over the last year, recruiting freshmen wasn't likely going to happen. And clearly that changed with yourself and Austrian shooter Imran Soljanovic. How does it make you feel that you stood out so much that the staff essentially changed their approach to recruiting to add you?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's definitely a blessing. It's definitely a blessing. You work hard and you get rewarded with things. So it's a blessing that they seen they seen something in me. Definitely blessed and grateful.
You've been labeled as a tough, defensive focused guard and somebody that's a better shooter than people think. Some have said that you're criminally underrated in the rankings. The guys at 247 Sports said you're further along in your development as an incoming freshman than many others, and you could impact playing as a freshman sooner rather than later. When you hear that kind of praise, when you hear that kind of, guys believing in you, how do you take that? Do you and how do you label yourself? What kind of player is St. John's getting in you in what is Kelvin Odih bringing to St. John's?
I'm just definitely bringing toughness, grit, and like you said, yeah, I'm definitely a defensive minded player. I was always taught like if you don't play defense, you're not going to play. That's just always something that's been stuck with me since I've been young. So I always take pride on defense, and usually when you take pride on defense, you always get rewarded on offense.
That's music to St. John's fans' ears and
Sure.
music to Coach Rick Pitino's ears. Coach Light has another nickname for you. It's Pro D, a play on your last name and obviously a goal of yours to get to the next level. Who are some of the guys at the pro level that you look up to or model your game after?
Um, I like to model my game after like guys like Lou Dort, Drew Holiday. Um, I'm definitely not obviously there's only one Ant, but like I like to study Ant, watch Ant a lot. So those three guys I'll say.
Pretty good guys for sure. Lou Dort in the NBA Finals.
Yes,
Coach
sir.
Pitino values defense. Just heard me say that music to his ears. On your visit, how much of the discussion about the strength of your game and what you bring to the table was defensive? And, what else was said for you in regards to how you fit into the plans for Coach Rick Pitino's roster?
Well, Coach Pitino told me that like obviously he can't promise me anything. And that's something that I respect. I don't need coaches lying to me. Like, you know what I mean? He can't promise me anything, but what he did say was the only guarantee he can give me is that he will get me to my fullest potential. And if I'm being honest, I think if I can get to my fullest potential, I'll be very happy with that result.
I think St. John's fans will be very happy with that result as well. Kelvin Odih, when you committed, one of the first things I said was that you are a Rick Pitino type of a player. I think your play style and mentality is going to translate well with these fans and, of course, on the court. We'll leave it here. What is your message to St. John's fans, and what are they going to see from Kelvin Odih starting this November?
My message to St. John's fans is get ready for a great season and just expect a winner, a dog, and somebody that's willing to sacrifice whatever to help the team.
That's Kelvin Odih, one of the newest Johnnies, freshman coming in from Providence, Rhode Island, ready to represent St. John's and the Red Storm. Kelvin, thank you so much for taking some time with us. Best of luck in workouts here in a few weeks. And
Sure.
I speak for Johnny Nation. We say we can't wait to see you on the court, and we will all be rooting for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a
You're
great
very,
day.
you're very welcome. Johnny Nation, that's Kelvin Odih. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back real soon. Johnny Nation, as always, thank you for listening. We'll catch you next time.